Hi, welcome back. We are up to chapter 5 of the Cabbage Patch War. I'm going to read chapters 5 and 6 today because they're a bit shorter. Page 40. Well, the last and worst trick came about 2 weeks later. It was over the apple tree. It was huge and old. Every year it grew hundreds of delicious apples. The only problem was half of the branches hung over into Whacker's yard. Normally, Dad let Whacker pick the ones on his side. Not this year, said Dad. No way. You shin up the tree, Chris, and pick all the apples on Whacker's side before he can get them. That's not fair, Dad, I said. Whose side are you on anyway? Said Chris. He quickly climbed up the tree and started picking. He had to really stretch for the ones on Whacker's side. Careful, said Dad. You don't want to go falling into his garden. Chris hurried as quickly as he could. If Whacker came out, it would mean big trouble. Soon there were only a few apples left on the furthest branches. Chris can't reach, I said. Tell him to come down. Okay, said Dad. I'll do it myself. Chris scrambled down and Dad struggled up into the tree and started picking. He had quite a hard time of it because his big beer gut kept getting in the way. He was just reaching out for the last apple when a furious voice roared from the other side of the fence. Get back over on your own side, shouted Whacker. They're my apples, said Dad. Like fun they are. The ones on my side are mine, said Whacker. Give 'em back. Dad grinned triumphantly and flashed those brilliant teeth in a gloating smile. He shook his head. Make me, he said. Whacker was really upset. You could see the veins on his head starting to throb. He raced back inside and came back with a saw. I don't want these branches hanging over my garden, he said. I think I'll remove them. Then I'll burn them off. He started to saw away at a lower branch. Dad leaned down. Quick as a flash, he snatched the saw out of Whacker's hand. Then he threw the saw down to Chris. It was amazing. I still don't know how he managed it. You ratbag! Screamed Whacker. He grabbed the end of the half-sawn branch and started pulling on it. He bent it back and back, but it wouldn't break. Dad leaned down and mocked him. Weak, said Dad. Whether his hand slipped or whether he did it on purpose, I couldn't say, but Whacker let go of the branch and it whipped back and slashed into Dad's face. Dad screamed and fell crashing down into Whacker's yard. Chris scrambled over the fence and looked at Dad. He was lying there moaning and groaning. There was blood and broken teeth all over his face. Geez, I'm sorry, mate, said Whacker. He looked as if he meant it too. Whacker tried to help, but Dad pushed him away. Chris pulled Dad to his feet and helped him stagger back home. Chapter 6. Well, Dad was in hospital for 3 days. He had a fractured jaw and lost 10 of his front teeth. There's nothing I can do, said the dentist. They all have to come out. Then she uttered the fateful words. It's false teeth for you, I'm afraid. Dad groaned and hung his head in his hands. For a moment I thought he was going to cry. He'd just lost his best asset. We'll get him for this, said Chris. No, you won't, said Mum. Things went quiet for a whole month. Dad and Chris played no tricks, and neither did Whacker. It was the calm before the storm. The day Dad came home with his false teeth was the beginning of the end of the nightmare. Dad stared into the mirror. Look at them, he said. They're phony. Anyone can tell they're false. And they hurt. And food gets under them. And they click-clack when I talk. That Whacker's going to suffer for this. I'm really going to fix him up this time. He's going to wish he'd never been born. Mum didn't say a word. She just glared, then rushed out the front door, slamming it after her. Dad hurried to the window and watched her. She walked straight into Whacker's house. Talking with the enemy, said Dad. Half an hour later, Mum returned. Get undressed and get on the scales, she said to Dad. What? He began. Then he saw the look in Mum's eyes. He went up to the bathroom, took off his clothes and stepped up onto the scales. 95 kilos, said Mum. Exactly the same as Whacker. You're both terribly overweight. It's the beer guts. What's going on? Said Dad. We're going to settle this nonsense between you and Whacker once and for all, in a peaceful way, said Mum. It's clear that you can't live next door to each other. Someone is going to get really hurt. Either we go or they go. It's the only way. You're going to have a contest, and the loser will move to another house. What about me? I yelled. I don't want to move. Robin is my best friend. I like it here, said Julie. Me too, said Skye. I'm not going to a new school, said Hayden. New schools are revolting. Jack didn't say anything. He doesn't even go to school yet. Anne and I have decided on a competition, said Mum, and the loser has to sell up and go and live somewhere else. What sort of a competition? Growled Dad. You and Wacker are going to lose those beer guts, said Mum. In exactly 3 months there's going to be a weigh-in. Whoever is the lightest is the winner. The other one and his family have to move house. Dad gritted his teeth. I thought he was going to say no. Good, he said. A duel. Wacker will never be able to stop stuffing his face. This time I'll really teach him a lesson. Yeah, said Chris. We'll show him. Mum went and fetched Wacker and Anne over. Mum went and fetched Wacker and Anne over, and everyone shook hands. Dad and Wacker wouldn't look at each other, but they agreed that the weigh-in would be in 3 months' time. Dad gave a false grin with his false teeth. I'll win easily, he said. I'll cut down from 5 beers a day to 3. That'll do the trick. I'll be your coach, Chris said. We'll train every day. My heart sank. Dad was never going to win like that. But either way, it didn't matter. I would still lose my best friend no matter who won. I went outside and sat on the footpath with Robin. We were both upset. I always think that I'm a bit big, said Robin. There's nothing wrong with that, is there? I shook my head. That's just you. Dad and Wacker drink too much beer, and they eat too much junk food. That's why they've got pot bellies. I don't mind a few veggies, said Robin, but why would Dad want to steal a cabbage? Beats me, I said. We all hate them, especially Julie. And now we're never going to see each other again, said Robin, all because of a cabbage. Her eyes filled with tears. She didn't want to leave either. What a friend. Both our hearts were breaking. So that was chapter 5 and 6. We've got chapter 7, 8, 9, and that's it. 3 chapters to go. Interesting, we now have a battle. Let's see what happens next time. See you soon.